receive a lot of help from the government to set up those production lines for masks.
Another company that you write about is Huawei, the telecom giant. You write that they've issued a 73-page guidebook for employees returning to work, which sounds so thick to me. I mean, what sorts of things are in these 73 pages?
Well, they include a lot of rules for every segment of the workday, like hand washing protocols, how to disinfect your desk each day. Also, very minute things like for their cafeterias, they're not supposed to be serving any sort of undercooked food. They specifically said no sunny side up eggs or soft-boiled eggs during this period.
Interesting. Obviously, there are important differences between the political system in China and the political system here in the U.S., but do you see anything that companies in China are doing now in the way it's enforcing these guidelines with workers that could be applicable here in the U.S.?
Yeah, the political systems are very different, and kind of draconian controls on workers are something that just wouldn't work in the U.S. or Western countries. I think some of the principles of how you minimize the risk of infection in the workplace are pretty universal, and I think the difference is that in countries like the U.S., it's going to rely more on individual workers having the knowledge to know how to keep themselves as safe as possible, because sort of the takeaway from all of this is your company can't eliminate the risk of coronavirus for you. They can do things like temperature checks at the door, but we've seen there are a lot of silent carriers, and there is the risk that if you go to the workplace, you will get sick. And all workers can do is to try to minimize that risk for themselves as much as possible.
Eva Doe is the China business and economy correspondent for the Washington Post. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much.
In the small town of Miharu in northern Japan, a giant cherry tree has stood for more than 1,000 years. It's bloomed through wars, earthquakes, even a nuclear disaster. And now in the midst of a pandemic that has swept the world, it is blooming yet again. Here's NPR's Kat Lonsdorf.
The tree is one of those natural wonders that takes your breath away the first time you see it. It's called the Takizakura, and it's one of the oldest and most impressive cherry trees in Japan, more than 30 feet tall with big weeping branches that bend toward the earth. Its name literally means waterfall cherry tree. I first saw the Takizakura back in early March, before it was blooming, with Shirafumi Hirata. He grew up here, has visited the tree all his life, and now he's employed by the town to protect it. The tree usually draws hundreds of thousands of visitors a year, and is cherished by the whole community here. Hirata pointed to a small shrine at the base of the tree, with offerings people had left. Rice, salt, tall bottle of sake. For the spirits of the tree, he said. The Takizakura has been here for well over 1,000 years, a silent observer as the world changed around it. It's been a constant for this rural farming community, especially in times of trouble. Like in 2011, when the most powerful earthquake in Japan's recorded history hit off the coast. It triggered a massive tsunami that hit the Daiichi nuclear power plant about 30 miles away, which caused a meltdown, blanketing nearby towns with radiation. After the earthquake, Hirata rushed to the tree. It was fine, unharmed. But for years, visitors stayed away, worried about radiation. Hirata said the tree seemed sad, lonely. But still, it bloomed, and Hirata kept watch.
Whenever I went out, I worried. But every time I saw that the tree is still standing, unchanged, it was always a relief.